The Netherlands has the world's largest number of cyclists, but it is also the safest place in the world to cycle. That is largely because of the perfect cycling infrastructure that can be found throughout the country. How did the Dutch get this network of high-quality cycle paths? Some think, including many Dutch themselves, that cycle paths have always been there. That is only partly true. Yes, there were some cycle paths, but they were of an entirely different type than today. Narrow, of poor surface, dangerous or even absent at junctions, and not connected. And cycle paths weren't really necessary. Cyclists outnumbered other traffic by far. After World War II, everything changed. The Dutch had to rebuild their country, and they became incredibly wealthy. From 1948 to 1960, the average income got up by 44%, and by 1970 it was a staggering 222% more. People could now afford expensive goods, and from 1957 on especially, this led to many more cars in the streets. Streets of mostly old cities that were not built for cars. So buildings were demolished to make room for the car. Even some of the old cycling infrastructure was removed. City squares were turned into car parks. And new developments had huge roads for motorized traffic. The daily travel distance went from 3.9 kilometers in 1957 to 23.2 kilometers in 1975. But this progress came at a terrible cost. Cycling was marginalized, it decreased by 6% every year, and 3,300 lives were lost in 1971 alone. Over 400 of these deaths were children under the age of 14. The slaughter of kids caught people on the streets to protest. Stop the Child Murder called for safer streets for children as pedestrians and cyclists. Their calls were heard. Especially when in 1973 the first oil crisis halted the country. The then Prime Minister told the people of the Netherlands that this crisis was life-changing, that they would have to change their ways and be less dependent on energy, but that was possible without a decrease in the quality of life. Policies to encourage cycling fitted perfectly in that picture. The car-free Sundays to save oil were a reminder to people of what the cities looked like without cars. Around this time, the first city centers were made car-free, permanently, and the protests continued. Mass motorization killed people, the cities and the environment. Mass cycling tours through the cities of the Netherlands and smaller protests in favor of cycling facilities created an awareness that eventually changed thinking about transport policies. In the mid-1970s, municipalities started experimenting with complete and safe cycle routes, away from traffic. Financed by the national government, the first cycle routes were created from scratch in Tilburg and The Hague. In retrospect, they could be seen as the start of the country's modern cycling policies. Cycling increased in a spectacular way, in The Hague by 30 to 60% and in Tilburg by 75%. Build it and they will come proved true in the Netherlands. So to sum it up, what caused the changes in the Netherlands? There were the problems of cities that couldn't cope with the increasing traffic, that led to demolitions and to a public outrage over the amount of space handed over to motorized traffic. An intolerable number of traffic deaths that again led to mass public protests. An oil crisis and an economic crisis that led to gas shortages and high prices of energy. A solution was found in the political will on a national and municipal level, with both decision makers and planners to deal with this situation by turning away from car-centric policies and making way for alternative transport, like cycling. Cycling is now an integral part of transport policies. And what success did the protesters have? The child deaths went down from over 400 to 14 last year. This street got its cycle path. This bridge didn't keep its cycle lane. Instead, it got a cycle path. This painted cycle lane became a permanent cycle path, and cars were totally banned from here. It is the now famous site of the I Amsterdam sign. Earlier, also a site of one of the mass protests. The protesters would have been a lot more comfortable lying down there today. The Netherlands' problems were and are not unique. Their solutions shouldn't be that either.
The Netherlands are the world's most successful cycling nation. Young or old, rich or poor, everyone cycles. It's part of everyday life because it was made part of everyday life, as a viable transportation option. The Dutch bicycle industry is diverse and thriving and caters to all. Cycling is completely integrated in the Dutch transportation network, making it a seamless experience. Bicycle parking is of great importance. The ever-growing number of people cycling has stimulated parking solutions that are convenient, efficient, and of high quality. These aspects are instrumental to increase cycle rates and meet the needs of everyday use. The most popular means of transportation is the combination of cycling and transit. Folding bikes travel for free, and regular bicycles can be taken around the country outside peak hours for a small fee. The railway company and municipalities provide bicycle parking in close proximity to the train stations. In 2003, another option was added to this mix, the OV-Fiets bike rental service. Currently, it's available at over 230 train stations around the country, which makes it both ideal for commuters and other transit users. The OV-Fiets bike rental service is extremely popular, and it has become the most successful bike share system in the world. In 2010, OV-Fiets accounted for 85,000 subscribers, 5,000 rental bikes, and 850,000 bicycle trips. The Netherlands have a vast and completely connected bicycle network of 29,000 kilometers of separated bicycle paths and 7,000 kilometers of on-road bike lanes, enabling the Dutch to go anywhere, anytime. Bicycle-specific infrastructure and integral spatial planning form the pillars of an impressive cycle safety record. Combined with pro-bicycle traffic laws, education, and positive promotion, this record continues to improve. It enables children to cycle and be-cycle to school, and adults to pedal to work and the shops. This generates a friendlier and more sustainable urban environment. Road design for people has become the norm and contributes to a healthier and happier nation. Measures such as traffic calming and prioritizing road design for cycling and walking have had a profound effect on the safety of all road users. Cities embrace this and continue to improve and expand these measures. The Cyclist Union has been instrumental in enabling the Dutch to get onto their bikes and ride in safety, and continues to do so. Their work never stops, from local, regional, and national advocacy and public outreach to technological innovation, from monitoring and assessing bicycle infrastructure, influencing the political agenda, to promoting cycling positively, safeguarding what the Dutch have, and improving existing conditions. Dutch know-how on sustainable and active urban transportation is progressively developed for research in Africa, Asia, and Latin America through the Cycling Academic Network. This research aims to contribute to development goals regarding poverty alleviation, emission reduction strategies, and sustainable spatial planning and design. The research network includes 20 universities ITC and universities in India, Brazil, and South Africa, and it's expanding worldwide. The Cycling Academic Network aims to further develop and transfer knowledge in cooperation with local governments, civil society organizations, the private sector, and knowledge institutes. The Netherlands have accumulated cycling expertise that is of great interest to emerging and re-emerging cycling countries around the world. Increased foreign demand has inspired the Netherlands to establish a new organization which can support, facilitate, contribute to, and inspire international cycling projects and policies, helping countries, cities, and its people to move forward in a safe and healthy way. Therefore, the Netherlands is proud to present the Dutch Cycling Embassy.